Senator Todd Young said, "I received the COVID vaccine and encourage Hoosiers to do the same," but he says the president, in his words, has no right to force private employers to intervene in their employees' personal health decisions. This week, I also spoke with Senator Young about the crisis in Afghanistan, with a memorial scheduled later today in Logansport for Corporal Humberto Sanchez, who was killed along with 12 other service members in an ISIS attack late last month. This week, I asked Senator Young about the situation overseas and what this moment means for our country as we mark 20 years since September 11th. The situation in Afghanistan obviously has been front and center here in the news in recent weeks, especially after the tragic loss of 13 service members, including a Marine from Indiana. What is your message for the families of those we've lost?
To Corporal Sanchez's family out of Logansport and to the other dozen service members that lost their lives on behalf of this country, I want to let them know that Hoosiers and Americans from coast to coast honor their sacrifice and don't regard it as something in vain. The mere fact that they raised their right hand to serve our country is worthy of our respect. And let's remember that for 20 years, those service members kept America safe and secure.
This 20th anniversary of September 11th, this week, Saturday was September 11th. President Biden recently saying, after 20 years, I've learned the hard way there was never a good time to withdraw U.S. forces. You also served as a Marine. What's your response to that? And what was our presence there worth it?
Look, one can strategically embrace the notion that we needed to pivot to Asia, to focus more on the existential threat, a generational threat that Communist China presents. But clearly, I think Republicans, Democrats, Independents, everyone can agree that this exit was botched. And for that, we all deserve a lot of answers.
What should we have done differently?
Well, we should have, in short, decided to identify all the Americans that were there and first get the civilians out and those who fought alongside of us, then get the people with guns out. It's really that simple. But instead, we got our Marines and soldiers and others out before having the civilians taken out. And there's a lot of retrospection to be done. Should have we vacated Bagram Air Base? Should have we let our allies and partners know before we were in the process of withdrawing? All these things we'll be looking into at the Foreign Relations Committee next week when the Secretary of State appears before us.
To President Biden's point, though, was there ever a good time to do this?
There was a good way to do this. There was a good way to do this, and that would have been a more methodical approach. You notify our allies. You don't give up air cover. You certainly notify the Afghan National Security Force that you're in the process of disengagement so that you don't spook them, thus leading to, in part, to their dissolution as a military force. And you make very clear to the Taliban leadership that we are not leaving until every American is on a plane and out of there.
The White House and more broadly the country as a whole dealing with multiple crises right now, a number of natural disasters in recent weeks, with the pandemic still raging, a lot of division in this country and what's already been a very divisive time. Compare that to the mood in this nation 20 years ago after 9/11. Can we unite as a country to overcome these many challenges that we face?
Well, we can, and I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to drive that message home. I'm a student of history, and I know we've been through tons of rough patches over the course of our nation's history, whether it was during the time of the Revolution or the run-up to the Civil War, the Progressive era, Civil Rights era. We've been through tough times. And I was actually in Washington, D.C. on 9/11. I remember us coming together, even as the Pentagon was struck. We can do that again. It makes my heart bleed that our nation is divided along political lines, and I think it's important now more than ever that we make a concerted effort to love our neighbors, to understand people who have different perspectives, and to engage them in conversation, maybe people who think a little differently than we do.
It is an election year. You're up for re-election. You were also head of the GOP's fundraising efforts for the 2020 campaign in the Senate. You raised a lot of money for fellow senators, but ultimately lost the Senate because of those runoffs in Georgia. Can the GOP win back the House and the Senate next year? What will it take for that to happen?
Well, look, I think most people are predicting that will happen. My mind's not really in that political space right now, candidly. We have an unsecure southern border. We have this crisis in Afghanistan. We have a Marine here in Indiana who just lost his life, and I know the people of Logansport are really hurting on account of that. We still have the COVID pandemic amidst us, and the cost of living is going up. So Hoosiers sent me to Washington to serve out a full 6-year term, and I intend to do that, really focusing on their needs. And there will come a short time for politics a bit later.
Those issues will no doubt be front and center in next year's campaign. Many of the situations we're facing right now, will they not?
They will, I expect.
Yeah, 2024 right around the corner as well. Former President Trump may be considering another run for president. Republican Senator Pat Toomey, who's retiring this past week, said he doesn't think that President Trump should be the party's nominee, that it's time to move on. Do you agree, or do you support former President Trump in another run for the White House?
So as I indicated, I'm focused intently on solving, genuine crises we have right now, many of which we did not have when this administration came into office. I want to work with the administration wherever possible to solve these crises. Where it's not possible, I want to hold them to account and make sure that we incentivize the administration to have better government. And then as 2022 approaches, we'll focus on that election. And then after that, we can think about future elections.
All right, so Senator Young not wanting to answer that question just yet. He was, by the way, officially endorsed this week by former Vice President Mike Pence, who joined him at a fundraiser on Wednesday. Coming up next this Sunday in Focus, Indiana's current governor meeting with Afghan refugees this week. We'll talk about our state's role in this effort 20 years after 9/11. Plus much more on President Biden's new vaccine requirements. We'll talk with our panel about the impact here in Indiana.